Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of year, the greatest rivalry in college football. Remember when SEC fans were trying to say that Auburn-Alabama was a better rivalry? Now, it's always Ohio State-Michigan, and this is a top 5 matchup. Ohio State very likely to be ranked number 2 in the college football playoff rankings tonight. Michigan probably going to be ranked 5th in the college football playoff rankings. Guys, I want to fully analyze this game. Ohio State sitting right now 8-point favorites. The line moved. It opened at 7. It went to 7-5. It's at 8 now, and it's kind of stagnated around the Buckeyes -8 on the road. I'm going to give you guys 3 keys to an Ohio State victory, 3 keys to a Michigan victory, my score prediction, and then 3 reasons why I picked the team and why I think the team I picked will win. So let's get right into it. Ohio State keys to victory at Michigan in Ann Arbor. The number 1, use the snap count on Aiden Hutchinson. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope Ohio State has been scouting Michigan. Aiden Hutchinson in particular. The guy loves timing the snap count, and Ohio State has a very easy snap count to time. You've got CJ Stroud. He claps his hands, and within a second or like a second and a half, the ball gets snapped. You have to use the snap count specifically on Aiden Hutchinson. Do not allow him to get off the ball early. If you do hard count Michigan early, he will be offsides several times. Hutchinson consistently tries to jump the snap. I said that's what I was talking about. And then do that. This is the very important thing. Do it early in the game. I don't want this being done on a 3rd and 4, on a 4th and 2, where it's obvious you're trying to get him to jump. Do it on a 1st and 10. Do it on a 2nd and 6 when you're throwing in the shotgun. Get a few offsides on Hutchinson. Don't allow him to jump the snap and have that much of an advantage over your offensive tackles. He constantly does it. I see it weekly. That is a big key. Number 2 for Ohio State, quick passes early. Limit the Michigan pass rush. We know the story of this game will be dictated on how much pressure Michigan gets on CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud does struggle when he has to roll out from pressure. I've seen him several times where he'll actually jump out of the pocket before it collapses due to the pressure. He really struggles with it if you're Ohio State, and I expect Ryan Day to do this. And I almost ponder if Michigan plays Ohio State close to the line of scrimmage on the first drive, because Michigan should know that Ryan Day's done this before with CJ Stroud in these games. He did it especially in the Oregon game. Quick passes, get CJ Stroud settled down, especially on the road. Let Stroud settle in. First big road game. Yeah, what is the biggest road game Ohio State's had this year? At Nebraska, maybe? I mean, there really hasn't been one when you're talking about the 2 bigger games that just happened. Purdue and Michigan State were both at home for Ohio State. So this is CJ Stroud's first hostile environment. You can expect Ryan Day quick passes to Garrett Wilson, quick passes to Chris Olave, Jackson Smith-Njigba in the slot. Try and get him settled in. It's an interesting chess match because I wonder, you wouldn't think, you'd want to play Ohio State up close to the line of scrimmage, but it will be interesting if Michigan tries to do that early to not allow those quick, easy completions. Up-tempo on first drive could work. So this is a theory I have with college football. When you go into a hostile environment like this, the one thing basically equivalent to water on a fire is really fast up-tempo against the crowd. This crowd is going to be crazy in Ann Arbor the first drive of the game. If you go fast, you're constantly hiking the ball. It could backfire. You could get a quick 3 and out. We understand that. But if it works, the crowd will have no idea what hits them. There's really no opportunities for Michigan. Again, that also goes to not facing third downs. Once it gets to third down, the crowd gets loud, incomplete passes. I understand that. But just overall, you go quick down the field, get CJ Stroud into a rhythm, quick passes. Don't allow Michigan to really line up. They won't know what hit them. It's so tough for a crowd to get fired up and really affect a game if you're going up-tempo, especially the first drive. I remember Ohio State might have done that back in 2019 against Michigan when we had Justin Fields. I think they might have done that. And then the third key, force Michigan to be a throwing team. So Ohio State's defense versus Michigan's offense. This is self-explanatory. We all know Michigan, pretty one-dimensional football team. They are getting Blake Corum back, and I do believe he will be 100%. Blake Corum looked 100% last week in the warm-ups against Maryland. I'm guessing they said, listen, we don't need to use him against Maryland. We can beat Maryland without him. We don't want to risk re-injury. So they didn't play him. Very smart move by them. He looks to be 100%, so they're going to have Haskins, the Thumper, and Blake Corum. That's a very nice change of pace. You need to force Michigan, load the box early against the run, force Cade McNamara and the wide receivers to beat you. They're without their best wide receiver, Ronnie Bell. He was out for the season week 1. And it's like Cornelius Johnson, he's okay, but it's like, you want to force Michigan. They have a true freshman receiver, Anthony, who played very well against Michigan State, although what receiver doesn't play well against Michigan State secondary? Let's be honest about that. But overall, you got to force McNamara to beat you. We know that. This was known. They're going to load the box early. They want to get those 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 downs. And then you've got, for Ohio State, I think Ohio State's defense is really underrated. Ohio State, the pass rush, there's so much depth there. How great has Tyreek Smith been? No, Tyreek Smith has to be one of the most underrated players in college football. And you know who also has to be probably the most underrated player in college football? Marcus Williamson. Marcus Williamson, 2 more pass defenses against Purdue. Denzel Burke, by the way, went out against Michigan State. Denzel Burke went out of the game. Looked like he had a shoulder injury against Michigan State. We've got some great news on him. He looks to be 100% ready to play, and he's been a stud true freshman. Cam Brown, the other cornerback, is coming into his home. Tommy Eichenberg, the linebacker, playing well. Steele Chambers, the other linebacker, playing well. And then you've got Haskell Garrett in the middle. Really generated a ton of pressure, especially those run pressure against Kenneth Walker. Had a few times where he was in the backfield. He forced Kenneth Walker to go right or left. You're getting that pressure in the backfield. You're forcing running backs to make decisions when they're 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That's exactly what you want from your big defensive tackles. Let's move on to Michigan. Keys to victory versus Ohio State. They are the home team. They are 8-point underdogs currently, sitting at 10-1. Force Ryan Day to run the ball. So this is very interesting. Play the pass early. Show light boxes similar to Nebraska. Nebraska had a very interesting strategy against Ohio State, and I ponder if Michigan will take a play from Nebraska's playbook. Now, Nebraska did allow 500 yards, to Ohio State, but they really limited the big plays. And, the linebackers clog up the passing lanes versus an inexperienced Stroud. You have a lot, or you might only have 1 or 2 linebackers on the field. The thing that Nebraska was doing, they were showing 6-man boxes on 1st and 10, and Ryan Day was throwing. Okay, now I think personally, if Ryan Day sees a 6-man box on 1st and 10 or 2nd and 7, where it's not an obvious passing down like 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14, you could only see a 6-man box, whatever. If it's like 1st and 10, Ryan Day's probably now gonna run. But what Nebraska was doing, they were, they were using Ryan Day's aggressiveness to his disadvantage. Because Ryan Day loves throwing on 1st and 10. I love doing it too. But it's like if you have all of these guys in coverage, they're playing coverage on 1st and 10. You have 6 free yards with Trevion Henderson if you run the ball. 6 free yards. They have a light box on 1st and 10. On 1st and 10. It's almost like I wonder if Michigan comes out and sees if Ryan Day abandons the run again. It'd be interesting, but I think Ryan Day would say, you know what, we're just going to run the ball. If you're going to let us get 6 yards per carry, we're not going to play into your hand while you're playing coverage, while you have all those bodies in the secondary against an inexperienced C.J. Stroud making his first major road start. We're not going to allow that to happen. We'll just run the ball and get our 6 or 7 yards with our very experienced offensive line. Number 2, pressure Stroud with or without blitz. You need to pressure this guy. Okay, I said it with Michigan State. I said Michigan State, they have no pass rush. You need to just blitz him on every down. Michigan State barely blitzed. You have to pressure CJ Stroud. It's with every quarterback, we understand, but I've seen CJ Stroud get an ounce of pressure, just a little bit, and immediately leave the pocket, left or right, and the play is over because he struggles to throw on the run when it's not a designed throw on the run. When he's ab-libbing. You have to blitz or without. If I was Michigan and it was 3rd and 5 or longer, I'm blitzing every time. Every time. You have to get pressure on him. Michigan secondary, we know they're not the greatest, but you have to get pressure on him constantly. Michigan's pass rush, they need to show. See, this is the biggest key, and everyone's going to talk about this, but it's true. If Michigan's pass rush doesn't show up, they have 0 chance. They need to show up, and then the blitz consistently on 3rd downs, very important. I would be blitzing on every 3rd and long if I was Michigan against Stroud and the Ohio State offensive line. Send an extra man, get Stroud uncomfortable, very important. And then the number 3, limit the long touchdowns. Force Ohio State to execute in the red zone. The past 2 weeks, Ohio State in the first half against Purdue, 45 points. First half against Michigan State, 49 points. They're not even needing the red zone. See, there was a time, middle of the season, that Ohio State really struggled in the red zone. They struggled to run the ball. They struggled to score touchdowns. At one point, it was like 2 out of their last 9 red zone trips, they had touchdowns. If you're Michigan, you have to limit these long touchdown plays. The 47-yard touchdown pass to Chris Olave. The 53-yard touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson. Limit it. Okay, you can allow some big plays, but make Ohio State go 5 for 5 scoring touchdowns in the red zone. Don't allow like a 70-yard touchdown to where Ohio State doesn't even need the red zone to score. You understand? Make them get into the red zone and make them have to execute in the red zone instead of getting these long splash touchdown plays like they've gotten the last 2 weeks. And then if you're Michigan, use your run game to limit Ohio State's possessions. You want to shorten this game. You want your offense on the field. That's an obvious one. That's whenever you're facing a very elite offense. Ohio State, the best offense in college football. If you're the opposing team, you want them off the field. You want to limit their possessions. That one's obvious. And guys, as for my final score predictions, I did predict this. I predicted this, I think, yesterday already, so it's already out there. My final score prediction is 52-24, Ohio State winning and dropping a 50-burger on Michigan. The expectation from me is this will be a close game throughout much of the first half, and then Ohio State will pull away early third quarter, and I'm expecting C.J. Stroud's official Heisman moment, maybe late third quarter, early fourth quarter. That's the expectation. And before I get into the 3 main reasons why I do think Ohio State will win 52-24 on Saturday, I want to make an opening statement and say I respect Michigan's football team. They've got a hell of a program, but nobody's getting in the way of Ryan Day's national title this year. Nobody. So let's get to the 3 reasons. And number 1, I'm being dead serious with this. Ryan Day is possessed. I have not seen this before. You talk about Ohio State. Oh, they've scored 50-plus points in the last 2 weeks. Think about the context of the last 2 weeks for this Ohio State offense. You're dropping 49 points in the first half. You have 7 offensive drives. You score a touchdown every single drive. And then you sit on the ball in the second half because the game's already over. The same thing happens to Purdue. You score 40-plus points in the first half. Ryan Day right now, an out-of-body, another entity has taken over in Ryan Day. This is ridiculous. I've never seen anything like this. Ryan Day, C.J. Stroud, the Heisman favorite now. It is crazy. The play calling everything is working for Ryan Day. That is a legit reason. I'm dead serious. Number 2, Ohio State has a significant talent advantage and a coaching advantage. I do like Jim Harbaugh. He's a good coach. I've said before, Jim Harbaugh has the worst job in America. His fan base expects him to beat a team that is better than him. If you look at the overall team talent composite in terms of recruiting isn't an exact science, but Ohio State is significantly more talented than Michigan, meaning Michigan would have to have a significant leg up in terms of coaching. And I just do not see that as the case. Ryan Day is going to outcoach Jim Harbaugh on Saturday with more talent. That's why it's going to get ugly. And guys, let's remember back to last year. Remember last year when Michigan was 2-4 and just completely quit on the season? Ohio State needed the one more game to qualify for the Big Ten Championship. Ohio State opens the week against Michigan, 30-point favorites, and Michigan says, you know what? Honestly, listen, it was smart for Michigan. The funniest thing in that whole situation, Kirk Herbstreit, and this got Michigan fans so angry, Kirk Herbstreit, 2 weeks before Michigan even had any cases, said that he hopes Michigan doesn't back out of the game, and then they back out of it. Kirk Herbstreit literally called it, and then Michigan fans were saying that, oh, the university should sue Kirk Herbstreit. Sue him for what? Being right? Seriously, Kirk Herbstreit literally says 2 weeks before Michigan has any cases that he hopes Michigan doesn't back out, and Michigan does exactly what he said they were going to do. And then they're like, oh, sue Kirk Herbstreit. But guys, remember last year, Michigan completely quits on their season. Ohio State needs one more game to make the Big Ten title. They end up changing the rules or whatever. Really, you just got to get the best team in the title. Ohio State was the best team last year in the Big Ten. I mean, I don't know who can argue it after what they did to Clemson. Then you've got all the Indiana fans. Oh my goodness, they changed the rules. Indiana, my goodness. Look at how Indiana is this year, folks. Look at Indiana's football program. But I'm just saying, Ryan Day remembers that type of stuff, and he is pissed right now. He's pissed. He's possessed by something. I've never seen anything like it. And you look at the overall coaching talent advantage for Ohio State, just the overall player advantage. It is significant. And number 3, Ohio State's elite offense will be able to minimize the randomness we see in typical upsets. And what I mean by that, say Ohio State has a turnover, they fumble, a pick 6 happens. Ohio State's quick strike offense, they can score from anywhere on the field. They will minimize the crazy chance for a potential upset by Michigan. Michigan does have a good defense, but they have not faced a top 40 offense yet in terms of scoring in college football. Ohio State is ranked number 1 in scoring offense and also yardage per game. Ohio State's pretty much ranked number 1 in everything when it comes to offense. So, this could be like maybe back to 2018 with Dwayne Haskins, Michigan. I thought Michigan still had a good defense. They just had a terrible game plan with Don Brown. But, we saw Michigan with the number 1 scoring defense. They hadn't faced anyone in the Big Ten. Big Ten typically doesn't have very good offenses. They come into Columbus and they get destroyed by Dwayne Haskins and Ohio State. If I'm a Michigan fan, we all know this, get pressure on C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud under pressure. We saw it against Nebraska. There was a strip sack. Ohio State luckily recovered it, but we've seen him rolling out, throwing interceptions, forcing the ball down the field. You got to get pressure on this guy in Ohio State's offensive line. I would almost be tempted to tell Trevion Henderson on third downs, just block. Just sit there and block, chip on someone, make sure nobody gets to Stroud. Allow him a clean pocket to throw the ball down the field. You want those matchups with Michigan's DBs. The key will be protecting long enough to where we get to see Stroud push the ball down the field to a Chris Olave, to a Jackson Smith-Njigba, and to a Garrett Wilson. That will be the key, guys. What a game this is. You want to talk about the Big Ten? How about the Big Ten taking center stage on rivalry weekend? You've got all these crap rivalries. How about the Iron Bowl? It's just funny how I remember like 3 years ago, Alabama and Auburn fans were like, the Iron Bowl is better than the game. How irrelevant is the Iron Bowl? Pretty much every year it's completely irrelevant. It's hilarious. And the game always has better ratings than the Iron Bowl. There's a shocker. And I'm sure this year will be no different. Big Noon. Big Noon is a disgrace. I hate Fox's Big Noon. This game's going to go probably till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not even kidding. Fox is so greedy with these commercials. I'm sick of it. Nothing against their network. They have a really good picture. When you compare it to ABC, they have a real Ultra HD picture. But it's just like we have 45 commercials. Goodness gracious. It is clear. If you watch a Fox game and then you watch an ESPN game, Fox has more commercials. That is 100% clear. Like this game, I would be shocked if this game finished before 4 o'clock. Shocked. But maybe it will. We'll have to see what ends up happening. Ohio State, Michigan this weekend, guys. Good luck to both schools. Should be a fun game. 2 top 5 teams. This is what you want in the Big Ten. This is what you want. I've got the final score. Ohio State winning 52-24. Close game in the first half with Ohio State pulling away with the superior advantage in talent. And Ryan Day just possessed right now. He's obsessed with it. He is making a crazy war march to the national championship this year, guys. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.